I still remember the moment like it just happened. I was standing by the office coffee machine, adding a dash of oat milk to my morning blend, when Ryan, our new CEO and the founder's son, walked into the break room. He didn't greet me, didn't smile, just stared at me like I was a piece of office furniture. Then, without warning, "Lily, I need to see you in my office. Now." It wasn't a request. I'd been with the company for nearly 11 years. In that time, I built the client services department from scratch, negotiated over 100 contracts, and trained most of the team now sitting outside his office. But none of that mattered to Ryan. His father, Mr. Cole, had built this company on grit and loyalty. Ryan inherited the title and apparently thought that gave him the right to play God. I followed him, trying to shake the rising tension in my chest. He didn't even sit down. "You're fired," he said, flat and emotionless. "We don't need lazy people like you dragging this place down." I blinked. Surely this was a joke. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." He flipped through a stack of papers like he was deciding on lunch. "You can collect your things and leave. Effective immediately." My heart pounded. I wanted to shout, to demand an explanation, to defend the years I gave to this place. But instead I smiled, calm, polite, deliberate. "Understood," I said. "Have a nice day, Ryan." I walked out with my head high, but inside I was trembling. My team looked up as I passed. A few started to rise, sensing something was wrong. I gave them a subtle shake of the head. "Don't make this harder." I packed in silence. Driving home, memories flooded in. 11 years. I'd given this company more than I gave my own family. Late nights, weekends, holidays, taking client calls while holding back tears after my divorce. I gave them everything, and now I was dismissed like I was nothing, but I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was curious. Why? That question haunted me all night. Something about how casually Ryan did it. The timing was off, too. We were days from finalizing one of the company's largest contracts, a deal I had spent 6 months preparing. I knew the client inside and out. I had even booked the final review meeting for Friday. Now I was gone. Had he even looked at the contract? The next morning, just after 9 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring. But curiosity won. "Lily, it's Mr. Cole." His voice jolted me. The real CEO. The man who hired me 11 years ago after a single interview. "I just walked into the office," he said, tension thick in his throat. "Why the hell did you pack up and leave? What happened?" I hesitated. "Your son fired me." Silence. Then a sharp inhale. "Yesterday?" "He said I was lazy, that I wasn't needed anymore." A long pause. Then carefully, "Lily, did he read your contract?" I frowned. "What do you mean? He's supposed to finalize the Kingswell deal today, isn't he?" "Yes, we were scheduled to meet at 11. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. I heard rustling, papers shuffling, then a loud thud. "Lily, your contract has a clause. One I insisted on after the Steel Ridge disaster. You're not just the account manager. You're the only authorized negotiator for Kingswell." I froze. "He can't close the deal without you," Mr. Cole said. "Not legally, not ethically, not practically. The contract falls apart unless you're there." A slow realization crept in. Ryan hadn't read it. He had no idea what he'd done. And just like that, something inside me shifted. The betrayal still hurt, yes, but now I felt something else. Control. He pulled the trigger far too fast, and now the gun was pointed at himself. Mr. Cole hung up. I sat frozen, coffee cold beside me. 11 years, and his son had fired me without reading the contract. I let out a bitter laugh. By 10:13, my phone buzzed again. Ryan. I let it go to voicemail. Then reception, then legal, then accounting. I didn't answer. Not one. Eventually, I opened the voicemail. Ryan's voice sounded strained. Lily, hi, there was a misunderstanding yesterday. I might have acted too fast. We need you. Back. It's urgent. Please call me. Not a single apology. Just panic, dressed in civility. At 10:32, another call. Nicole, an old colleague, now in marketing. I picked up. Lily, you won't believe what's happening, she whispered. Try me. Ryan just got chewed out by his dad, in front of everyone. Mr. Cole walked into the meeting room, slammed the Kingswell contract on the table, and asked one question. Did you read this before firing Lily? I smiled slightly. Ryan tried to bluff, she continued. Said something about restructuring. But Mr. Cole wasn't buying it. He flipped right to your clause, the one you always talked about, that you're the sole negotiator. I could hear the murmurs behind her. Lily? He looked pale. Ghost pale. Mr. Cole told him, if this deal falls through, your position here becomes negotiable. There it was. The first crack in Ryan's armor. Nicole added softly, whatever you're planning, you have the upper hand. I ended the call with a quiet, thank you, and stood. At 11:15, another message, this time from Mr. Cole himself. Lily, I'm sincerely sorry for what happened. I misjudged the situation. Please come in, not just for the deal. I'd like to speak privately, tempting. But I wasn't ready to walk. Back in like nothing happened. This wasn't just about a deal. It was about respect, about trust, about the years I gave, years that couldn't be undone by a panicked phone call. Still, I wasn't petty. I wasn't weak. I wanted accountability. I texted back, I'll consider returning to finalize the Kingswell deal, but only under specific conditions. I'd like to speak with Mr. Cole directly beforehand. Then I got dressed. When I walked through the main lobby at noon, it wasn't as an employee. It was a statement. The receptionist jumped to her feet. Miss Harris, Lily, Mr. Cole is expecting you. As I followed her down the hall, heads turned. Conversations hushed. The building felt like it was holding its breath. Mr. Cole was waiting at his office door. Lily, he said with a nod, thank you for coming. I nodded back but didn't smile, didn't shake his hand. We sat. I made a mistake, he said. A big one. I gave my son too much authority too fast. I didn't expect him to burn bridges before learning how to build them. He leaned forward. What he did was disrespectful, and it jeopardized everything. We've worked for. I've read your contract again. You were given full authority over Kingswell. No one else can touch that account. I met his eyes. Yes. And he didn't even glance at it. He nodded. I'd like you to come back, with full autonomy. Whatever terms you need, we'll put them in writing. I'll return, I said firmly. But I want everything in writing. A revised contract, full control over Kingswell, and no interference from Ryan. Done, he said without hesitation. And one more thing, I added. This doesn't happen again. Not to me, not to anyone. He nodded again, slower this time. You have my word. When I stepped out of the office, I saw Ryan down the hall. He was pretending to chat with a junior executive, but his eyes snapped to mine. I didn't flinch. I didn't look away. I walked past him like I'd never seen him before. By 1 p.m., the boardroom was ready. The Kingswell team arrived, and I greeted their CEO in Arabic. He smiled. You remembered? Respect goes a long way, I said. The meeting went flawlessly. 2 hours later, we signed. Afterward, Mr. Cole pulled me aside. You saved us, he said. I owe you more than an apology. No, I said. You owe your company a leader, one who knows the difference between power and responsibility. He didn't argue. That evening, As I walked to my car, the tension I'd carried for 48 hours finally began to lift. I had come back, not just as an employee, but as someone who understood her worth and demanded it be recognized. But I also knew this wasn't over. Ryan had been quiet today, but the real fallout had just begun. They don't disappear. They retaliate. Men like Ryan don't vanish quietly. They retreat, regroup, and strike back. By the following week, the Kingswell deal had made waves in our industry newsletter. A breakthrough in cross-border negotiations. Colin & Co. secures historic partnership with Middle Eastern distributor through tailored strategy and multilingual leadership. They didn't mention me by name, but everyone at the firm knew who had sealed that deal. My inbox flooded with quiet congratulations. Messages from colleagues who had once stayed silent. Some from juniors I had mentored years ago. Others from managers who had ignored me in meetings but now praised my leadership under pressure. I appreciated the kind words, but I wasn't naive. I knew how fast loyalties shift when the wind changes. The mood around the office had lightened. Smiles in the hallway, laughter in the break room. Mr. Cole had made it clear. Ryan was no longer involved in high-level decision-making until further notice. And yet, something felt off. It started small. My travel reimbursement for the Kingswell trip was delayed. Then documents I submitted for approval came back unsigned. No explanation. One day, a client forwarded me an email, supposedly from me, that contained incorrect information. But I hadn't sent it. I'd traced it. It hadn't come from outside the company. It came from a shared workstation inside the office. That's when I knew. Ryan wasn't trying to fire me anymore. That had failed. Now he wanted to smear me, to make me look incompetent. Slowly, subtly, sabotage disguised as error, until someone else decided I was a liability. I'd seen it before. My first job out of university, I worked under a director who weaponized silence. He'd isolate you, starve your projects, whisper poison into the right ears until your exit felt inevitable. But I wasn't 22 anymore. I wasn't going to disappear. I documented everything, every missed signature, every tampered file, every unexplained delay. I kept a private notebook, time-stamped conversations, irregular login records, gut feelings. In corporate warfare, paper trails matter more than outrage. Then one afternoon, passing a conference room, I heard it. Ryan's voice. She's unstable. Since she came back, she's been erratic, aggressive. I don't think she's fit to manage high-pressure clients. Another voice responded, someone I didn't recognize. A newer executive, maybe. But the Kingswell deal, she pulled that off under serious pressure. Ryan scoffed. She got lucky. We can't run a company on luck. I froze. Not from fear, from the icy precision of his tactics. He was planting seeds again, poisoning the well. That evening I stayed, late. Alone in the glass meeting room, the city lights stretching past my reflection, I wondered how many more battles I'd have to fight just to do my job. Then a voice broke the silence. Still here? Mr. Cole. I could ask you the same, I replied. He stepped in and placed a folder on the table. Your revised contract, everything we agreed on. I flipped through it. Solid language, clear terms. I've also started an internal audit, he said. Too many things have been misfiled lately. I looked up. I'm not blind, Lily. I know Ryan's not done. Then why haven't you stopped him? There was a pause. Then he said tiredly, because I needed to see how far he'd go. You're protecting the company. He shook his head. I'm trying to protect both of you, but maybe it's too late for one of you. I closed the folder. I don't need protection. I need you to decide what kind of legacy you want to leave behind. The office grew colder in the days that followed. Not the weather, but the air between people. Whispers replaced greetings. Eye contact became scarce. The audit had begun. I hadn't asked for it, but I was relieved. Not just for me, for everyone who had been walking on eggshells since Ryan's rise. Still, I knew how these things go. In corporations, truth doesn't always equal justice. Sometimes it ends in golden handshakes. Sometimes it's buried under red tape. On Thursday, I was called into the audit team's temporary office, an old storage room turned war room. David, the lead auditor, gestured me in. "Thanks for coming, Lily. We need to go over a few irregularities." He pulled up a screen. "This email, allegedly from you, was sent from a shared machine. Credentials were entered manually. No phishing involved." "So someone had my login info?" "Copied it, most likely. And this wasn't a one-off. Rewritten emails, altered spreadsheets, unsigned approvals, always from shared machines, always under your name." I exhaled. This was coordinated. He nodded. "Yes, and many of the traces link back to Ryan's assistant's login." I didn't flinch. "What happens now?" "We present the findings directly to Mr. Cole," he asked, "for full transparency." "I'll be there." David looked surprised. "You're not required." "I'll be there," I repeated. "If this is surfacing, I want to look everyone in the eye." The next morning, I arrived early. Ryan walked in late, smug as ever, until he saw me. "She's not on the audit committee," he snapped. "She's here at my request," Mr. Cole replied without turning. Ryan's face shifted. "This is supposed to be internal, confidential." "Then you shouldn't have used company resources to fabricate emails," I said, voice like steel. David backed me. "We've traced login attempts tied to your assistant's account, all linked to irregularities involving Lily's work." Ryan scoffed. "She's bitter. I let her go." I met his gaze. "You didn't let me go. You sabotaged me and nearly cost this company its most important deal in 5 years. Mr. Cole finally turned. "I gave you chances," he said. "You chose to tear down the people building something real here." Ryan faltered. "This isn't what it looks like." "No," Mr. Cole cut in. "It's worse." He stood. "The board will review the report. Until then, you're suspended, effective immediately." Ryan opened his mouth, but said nothing. He walked out. No defiance, just disbelief. 2 weeks passed. The evidence was undeniable. Emails, login logs, altered files. Sabotage disguised as incompetence. HR complaints used as weapons. Ryan's suspension became termination. No lawsuit, no press release, just a quiet erasure from the company's memory. I thought I'd feel victorious. I didn't. I felt steady. Later that week, Mr. Cole called me in. "You did it," he said, sliding a folder across the desk. Inside, a promotion letter. Director of Client Strategy, executive level. Reporting directly to him. "I didn't ask for this," I said. "Exactly," he replied. "That's why you deserve it." I paused. "If I accept, I want a say in how we move forward. I want to rebuild this culture the right way." He smiled. "That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say." That night, I sat alone in my new office. No nameplate yet, just a door, a space, a beginning. I thought of all the nights I stayed late, all the fires I put out, all the quiet wins that went unrecognized. I used to think silence kept the peace, but silence nearly cost me everything. Competence is not arrogance. Professionalism is not weakness. I had been underestimated, sabotaged, dismissed, but never defeated, and I had not grown bitter. That, to me, was the real victory. In the weeks that followed, I reshaped the department. Reopened doors, reinstituted trust, created anonymous reporting systems. Took time for the younger staff, the ones who asked how I stayed strong. "You don't always get to pick the battles," I told them. "But you do get to choose who you become in the middle of them." As for Ryan, last I heard, he was interviewing at smaller firms out of state. His reputation had followed him. Quietly, I suspected Mr. Cole had ensured his name wasn't publicly dragged. Maybe that was a father's final act of grace. I didn't ask. I didn't need to. One afternoon, I walked past the old Kingswell negotiation room, the glass walls that once held so much tension. I paused, remembered. The sabotage, the call, the panic, the turning point, not when I won the deal, but when I stood up, looked Ryan in the eye, and refused to beg. That's when everything truly changed. Because, in that moment, I remembered what I was worth.